analysis on the State of the Province address now. Economist Fiso Skenjana joins us in studio. So you heard what the Premier had to say. He has an ambitious plan, many would argue. Do you reckon he's on the right track?
I think, with certain ideas, he's certainly on the right track. Around the bulk water infrastructure, we understand the challenges happening in the Vaal, how to be a sport, etc., and around the management of water resources, sealing of those dams to ensure that Gauteng has a secure water supply. We understand that Gauteng, for example, uses more than the national average of water, and so there's a lot of also marketing exercises they've got to do there to ensure people use water. That's one of the areas I think is quite progressive. I think some of the other spaces are a little bit still in the air in terms of the pace at which he'll be able to roll it out. For example, the cannabis industry, we're yet to have legislation that will inform how it can be rolled out, and therefore that is probably a 3 to 5 year plan. So we're not going to see results coming out of that anytime soon. The automotive industry, we're a large export of that. We've got about 158 billion worth of exports, largely to Europe and the US. So it's been a good industry for South Africa, but it's not labor absorptive. Yeah. It's becoming a lot more capital intensive over time. And so how do all these things tie in with the NDP agenda around labor intensive industries? And so these are some of the things that I think some of the granularity we might have missed, but again, some ideas that are positive.
Yeah, so let's talk about load shedding. He says it's destroying our economy. He's looking at alternative ways to actually ease load shedding in Gauteng. I'd be very happy if they get that right. That's a big deal when it comes to economic growth in the province and in the country overall.
Absolutely. And, South Africa's got about 2,500 hours worth that you can use for day hours, that they call them, for solar energy. The UK has got about 1,200, and they've got such an advanced solar market, which talks to the size of the opportunity, for example, for solar to grow in the context of South Africa. We've seen wind growing in some of the windier cities, PE, East London, and Cape Town. And so there's certainly an opportunity there to think around how do we diversify our energy mix. And, we've seen what's happening, or at least what's been promised to happen in Soweto, around the guys picketing around not being cut out for electricity. And so it's certainly a progressive conversation around how do we improve our energy mix.
Yeah, so the opposition is not buying any of this, and that's natural for any opposition to share that idea and notion after a State of the Province address. But let's talk about the cannabis industry in particular a bit more. I know you mentioned it. There are other provinces that have the same idea. The Eastern Cape, I think, did it, KwaZulu-Natal as well. So how would it be beneficial in the long term, because it is a long-term project given the laws involved here, how will it be beneficial to our economies throughout the country?
No, it certainly would be on two sides. There's the primary farming side, and so literally the growing of the cannabis. There's the kind of climate that we've got in the Eastern Cape is a really good climate, and we understand that Premier Oscar Mabuyan is already putting in place some feasibility studies and truly trying to prep the province for that economy. And then in the agri-processing, right, we understand that even in cannabis there's a component that's used for medicinal purposes, I think, which is called CBD, and so that's got to be extracted, and so there's got to be a manufacturing component there, and that builds into the industrial strategy for the economy. And so I think on the one side, it'll have some labor-intensive, absorption capacity, as well as in bringing in some new technologies within the manufacturing space. So I think there's a real opportunity there, but of course we've got to put in the right infrastructure in place to make sure that it's managed correctly, as well as that it's beneficial for the communities that farms around it, as well as the broader economy.
All right. Thank you so much for your time and your insight. Appreciate it. That is Fiso Skenjana, an economist.